Oh, I keep forgetting to turn this on. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody can hear me. I'm going to be sending this out. So I'm going to be sharing this here. Hi. Hi, Abby. My niece is on. Yeah, I can see you. Hi, Craig. Hi, Kathy. Come on in. Say hi. I know, babe. I can see you. It's you. It's Abby. I know. Thank you for coming on. I don't know if you want to watch this today. My niece is on the chat right now. So I don't know if you want to watch this today because you might want to go watch something else. It's going to be boring for you. So today we're going to talk about, I hope everybody got the message to come on. I'm a little late because it's funny, I was working on this stuff and it's about stress and fear and all that. And meanwhile, I'm stressing out trying to get this all done. So, if you guys can please share the live so that just more people are aware that I'm on. Because I don't know who watches my stuff, but anyways, uh okay. All right, guys. You guys are going to be dominated with my niece and my nephew on today. But today we're going to be talking about facing fear. And one of the things that okay, one of the things that I wanted to talk about facing fear is because things, like I've said before, things come out in synchronicity with me, and it does with many people as well if you pay attention to it. So the reason I wanted to talk about it is last week I started to get I started to ask about certain things that I wanted to change in my life. So I wanted to talk about different changes, and I kept and in my even the readings that I was getting with people that were coming in, there was people that were coming in last week and they were severely stressed. There was different ones from different different things. One would be a couple of them were just stressed out because of work and because of finances and things like that, and it was really affecting them in different ways. um, Another one was the stress was so debilitating that they had to take some time off work because they couldn't even go to work because the stress was so bad in their body and it was causing all these different diseases. Someone else had come in and they actually had hives breaking out in their body, and they were trying to figure out, why is this happening to me when I'm, what's going on in my life. And everything that was there, every buddy had a common thing. It was stress, and stress was causing fear. They go hand in hand. So thank you for the hearts. So I started to look, and in that as well, I was starting to look at my own life, and I was just like, why? There's so many different things that I've done in my life, and I started looking at stuff happening when I was first starting out, and to the stuff that's happened now, how where I am right now. And there's been a lot of stuff that I was able to heal and let go, but there's always one thing that I have always had a hard time letting go. And I don't couldn't figure out what it was. I could figure out what it was, couldn't figure out why it kept doing this, why it was doing this. So I asked, I'm like, can you please help me figure out how to let this go? And one of the things, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is because I want to be upfront and honest. One of the biggest blocks for me is why am I not able to lose weight? I've done everything I possibly can um, to lose weight, and I keep losing it and gaining, losing it and gaining. And I was like, there's got to be something around that. It can't be just the fact that I don't want to lose weight because I do, because I've done everything I possibly can. There's got to be something else around that. What is the fear that's around that? Because there's got to be fear there. And I know there is. And they started showing me things started coming up on my the synchronicity started happening. And I came across a documentary that I started watching. So I'm going to give you a little bit about this documentary that I started watching. And it really ties into the fear and the stress. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit of it just because so that I'm not missing anything. The documentary starts off with this guy who at the time was 26 years old and he was diagnosed with colon cancer. Now, he was working really hard, trying to start his business. He was in real estate. He was doing all this stuff. So, of course, that scared him. And then on top of that, the doctor started moving really fast because you got cancer. So now it's like, we got to operate. We got to take the tumor out. We got to get this. So they go in, they remove the tumor, they remove a third of his large intestine. And when they get in there, they realize that the cancer is worse than they thought. They thought it was stage 2, it's actually stage 3. So now, not only is it stage 3, but it's also spread to his lymph nodes. So it's much worse than he thought. And they're like, you're going to need 9 to 12 months of chemotherapy. And he's not keen on doing chemotherapy. It never really sat well with him. He's trying to think. He's like, I don't sit well with me trying to poison me to then make me better. So he just didn't think um, that it was that great. So he decided to get home. He went home with his wife and he prayed about it and he said, God, if there's an alternative way, show me. And now this is where I want you to pick up on the synchronicities that happened for him. Um, all of a sudden, a few days later, he got a book that was delivered to his house from a man that lived in Alaska. And the book was written by a guy that actually cured his own colon cancer. So he started reading the book and he was just like, this is exciting. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want. All of a sudden, everybody around him, including his family, started saying that he was crazy and that what was he doing? That that's not the way. So all of a sudden, fear started happening again. Here comes the fear. So it was so bad. And because to appease everyone around him, he made an appointment to go see an oncologist. Now, while sitting in the waiting room of the oncologist, he looks up and on TV, there's Jack LaLanne. Now, if you don't know who Jack LaLanne was, he was an American fitness and nutrition guru. He died at age 96 in 2011. So, and he really promoted good eating and not getting processed foods and stuff. So he's sitting there in a waiting room. He's watching the TV, and there's Jack LaLanne on the morning show, and he's talking about nutrition. And he's saying the reason everyone is sick is because they're eating junk food and they're eating processed food. And basically, Jack says, if man made it, don't eat it. So this is what he's talking about. This is what he sees right before he goes to go in to see the oncologist. Now he goes in and he sees the oncologist. The oncologist says to him that with chemotherapy, he has a 60% chance of living for 5 years. And he's just like, that's not a very good odds. And in the meantime, he says to the doctor, is there any other alternative therapies? And a doctor starts belittling him and saying that he's insane and that there is nothing else and that only chemotherapy can work. And then at the end, there was something that stuck to him. He said the doctor then um, looks at him and says, "Now, I'm not saying this to you because I need your business." And because he sells, he's in sales, he recognized it as a sales pitch. But out of fear, because of all of the stuff that was going on in there, he still booked the um, chemotherapy appointment to get chemo to start chemotherapy. And but then when he gets home, he starts thinking about it, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to go. I don't want to get this. I don't think this is the way to go. And he stops listening to everyone else's what they're seeing. He stops listening to all of the people that are feeding him all of this fear in his head. He stops listening. And what happens is he decides, I'm going to change. I'm going to change my eating, and I'm going to change the way I'm thinking. Now, he did say that thinking was the harder of the two to change. He went out, got some books on positive thinking and changing the negativity around him, and he started eating correctly. Went into like a raw vegan diet and things like that. And he actually ended up surviving and having, I think it was like 2 kids or 2 or 3 kids, and he's still alive today. Clearly, he was saying the story. Now, that being said, I they started talking about the science behind it as well, which is one of the things that really interests me, because I was like, well, okay, there's got to be something else that's going on. It's got to be something that's in your body that's producing this, and what's it connected to. So I'm going to give you a little here. When we're afraid, we release stress hormones and an anti and inflammatory agents that affect the immune system. So when we get scared, our body releases cortisone, I can never say this word, neoferin, and cotins. These are the three things. That's the science part. And when we fear, which is stress, the stress hormones shut down the immune system. It's so effective at shutting down the immune system that doctors actually use stress hormones therapeutically. So, when they're going to transplant someone with an organ, they will give the recipient stress hormones to shut down their system, their immune system, so that it won't reject that organ. That's how that's how much stress hormones are effective to shut it down. Um, so what does this mean to the rest of us that lives here 24/7? Well, let's look at everyone's day and the way they live it. Uh, what people what leads people to make stress hormones today are two things: caffeine and our perception of pressure and urgency. Most people look in your mailbox or on your text messages and we get stressed out, but we are the ones that make that way. We're the ones who have the perception of it being an urgency because it's not urgent. And when we wake up and see our day as being difficult, everything is urgent. And maybe it's only, in reality, only two things that are really urgent. And that puts us into the fight or flight response. And it's adrenaline driven. It really is. It's an adrenaline driving thing. So, and when we so it changes. So when we're in adrenaline driven, it changes the biochemistry inside of us. Because if things out of life, because our body will think that we're in danger, and it's prepared to get away. So we get all this adrenaline. So it actually changes the biochemistry inside of us. I read a little bit thing. There are three types of stress that we really need to know about: physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. Physical stress is trauma, injuries, accidents. Chemical stress is flus, bacteria, and infections. Emotional stress is family tragedies, money, parenting. All those things knock the body and the brain out of balance. And when we get knocked out of balance, we turn on the stress response. And when that happens, we turn on the fight or flight nervous system. And when we do that, it gives the body a rush of adrenaline. And fat or we need fat or glucose to as fuel for our body to burn. Now, what happens is the body's going to pick the thing that's most readily available, which is the glucose, and it's the preferred source. And in that moment, when your body is on red alert, it's going to go to the glucose. So over the years, we have lost the ability to use our body fat as fuel because we're always relying on glucose because the stress hormone that it produces, because the stress hormone production. The other thing is over 90% of the illnesses on this planet today is based on lifestyle and stress. So stress is the achiever's word of fear. So if you're actually start looking at what you're stressing about, what it's frightening you, maybe it's letting people down. Maybe it's frightened of how others see you. The majority of our fears is really how people are going to perceive us. That's what the stress is. So, in order to heal from this fear, you have to make different choices. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you feel. You have to make conscious what your unconscious thoughts are. Your thoughts can make you sick, but your thoughts can also make you well. And it's so hard to change our way of thinking. It's so hard to change our way of thinking of us negatively. So people use stress instead of fear. But when you start looking at what it is that you're really stressed about, it's going to uncover all of the things that you are scared of. And then if you really actually look at what is it that you're scared of, what is it that you're scared of? What is it that's going to happen? And believe me, I'm in the same situation as you. That's why I looked it up. That's why I was looking up and looking at these different things. And I've been looking at lately about changing my mindset because that's the only way you're going to get over fear. And I have met people not that long ago that the fear has put them into a debilitated state that they're afraid to leave their house. There's been people that are so stressed out and so scared about different foods and things that they're afraid to eat anything. So there's always something. So you have to understand that if you can use fear, if stress and fear and things can make you sick, it also can make you better. But you're going to have to make those choices. You're going to have to make that choice to decide to be the person that you want to be and look into how you're going to make those choices because you and how difficult, and this is the other thing I'm hearing, it's like people are going to be like, well, that's hard. No, it's not. It's not that hard. It's not that hard because if you can believe something bad about yourself, you can also believe that something good. And believe me, I've been through it and I'm going through it now. And this is part of the reason why we're here. And I've had to deal with a lot of getting over of a lot of stress, which was fear when I finally found it. And I'm still dealing with it every day. I ask myself, why am I stressed out? Why am I afraid of this? What exactly has me in this fear? Because when you are scared of something, when you give something your fear, other than all of this stuff that's happening and it makes you sick and all that, you also are giving your power away and giving it control over you. And it will keep you there for as long as you give it permission to. So that's what today's live is about. It's about letting go of that fear, but it's not just letting it go. It's healing it as well and figuring out why is it still controlling you to this day? What is the worst thing that can happen? What is going to happen with you if you don't let it go? So does anybody have any questions on that? I see just a lot of comments here from my niece. I hope this live helped you, and that you can start healing some of your fear and getting rid of some of the stress that's in your life that's needlessly there. So, I for sure am going to start making a lot of changes. Um, and you're going to start seeing some of those changes hopefully soon. Because on top of having being shown this documentary so I can see what exactly is the chemical makeup and what it was with the science behind it. I was also shown a lot of different ways of this is what's going to happen when I that's great, Craig. Um, this is how I can actually take it and change the way I'm thinking and change the way my cat wants to get on here. Um, change my own perspective of different things because a lot of times it's my own perception. And it was funny that I was stressing out to finish this up so that I could come on because I waited too long. So, and the worst thing we have really in the society is going by the clock. The clock, um, having that to make it, it's like, oh my God, we're always on a stress, we're always on a stress. And I know people that are always on stress, always on this high alert. You get that's what you get from them, and your body can only go so long on that adrenaline before it finally crashes. And people don't understand how sick people can really be. And then, the fact that I see those people here asking me for help and I'm giving them what I'm being told to do, which ironically is also what I'm supposed to be doing. And they think that it's going to be a magic pill that they can take because they don't want to be able to do the because doing what I'm telling them doing, which is very simple, is they make it much more difficult. It's like, was there anything that I can go see? Is there a doctor that I can go see? Like, it's like, yes, you can take all the medication in the world, but it's not going to heal you. It's not going to heal you. It's just going to make you sick in a different way. It's going to put up blockers so that you're not going to be able to feel this different things. So if you want to walk around like a walking zombie, by all means, go ahead. Now, if we get comfortable or stress is so familiar, can it cause us to self sabotage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Stress and fear does that. I used to self sabotage myself all the time because it's easy for you to say, I can do it, as it is for you to say, I can't do it. There's no way I can do that. There's no way I can do that. The other thing is people were like, "Well, how's that gonna happen? How's that gonna happen?" What? You're gonna let that go. It's you don't have to know. You don't need to know all of the what, why, how thing. Just start doing it. Start looking at it. Put your fear aside and actually look at the potential of what's gonna happen. If I never look at it that way, it's always the negative side of stress that we look at. I know if I'm stressed, I get sicker, easier, and so on. And yes, eventually my body shuts down, force forcing me to rest. That's what happens. The thought process, Sandra, the only way you're going to be able to think of it is you're going to have to think of it instead of all of the negative thoughts that you have about yourself and all the negative thoughts, you're going to have to find a positive way of saying it. So if instead of saying, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot," how about you say, "Oh my god, I am amazing. I'm amazing because I accomplished this today." Start small. "Oh my god, I can't believe I did this." Instead of, "Why, oh my god, I can't believe I did this." Just changing your tone. It's like I didn't get a chance to write it down, but it's like when you see someone that you love, you set off different chemicals in your body. That is great. Not only that, but it makes you more attractive to that person too. Because if you see someone who is in love and is loved and loves themselves, they're glowing. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you have an amazing energy. And you tend to see a lot of times, and this is a bad analogy, but a lot of times women who have been stuck in a very abusive relationship or just like something that really holds them down, when you see them again, after like they've left and they have now taken care of themselves and they're like in a different element, oh my God, you're like, oh my God, you look so much different. You look amazing. What's going on? And they're like, well, you know what? I'm starting to take care of myself. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I was not allowed to do that before. They glow. Now, if you look back at when they were actually being suppressed and having that stressed out marriage and being scared to move on, they look like they had aged years. So you can see it in someone's face when someone is doing well and they are cherishing themselves and not relying on someone else to give them that lift. It's great. I mean, I love it when my husband compliments me and stuff, but for the longest time, and I can only use myself as an example. I mean, I'm working out and I have had a trainer now for about a year and a half. And I remember being at the gym and saying to him, "Oh my," because I couldn't get my body to do a certain move. And instead of saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe that it's taken, I can't believe it's," I'm like, I'm able to do this now. And I couldn't do it a year ago. Instead, I looked him in the eye and I said, I, and I got sick that day because I was so frustrated with myself that I couldn't. And he turned around and he said, "I love this body and you need to love it too." Now, this guy is 22 years old. And he looked at me and he's like, "No, Bella, you have to love this body. And I love this body." He goes, "You have to see what you've done and what you've come from." And I am so used to talking negative to myself. It took me a minute. And it took me a 22-year-old to, I mean, granted, he's very cute, but a 22-year-old to tell me, "No, you love your body because look at what it's done for you up until now. Like you have changed so much." But I was so into the moment that that's what I said. And then I was like, I apologized to him, which I shouldn't have. I apologized to myself. But and this happened like literally 2 months ago. And it's taken me this long to finally figure out why I'm having so many issues. Because let me tell you, after I said that phrase, a week later, I cracked a rib from that. Took me 6 months, 6 weeks to heal from that cracked rib. After I cracked a rib, I did something else. My body literally was like, "Okay, you hate us. This is what's going to happen. We're going to do this, and this." So I finally was last week at my end because I was just like, "Okay, please, what is it that I need to do in order to heal this?" Because I can't take my body literally breaking down. Like I need it. It's the vehicle I've been given. I am going to make peace with it. How do I do this? What do I need? And when I said that, everything just started opening up. And I remember last week when I did my live, I said, "I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. They're going to show it to me." And they did. And this is when I put it up there. And I really didn't know where I was going to be going with the live because I was like, "Okay, fear. Fear of what? Fear of the other side, fear of this." And they're like, "No, fear of being here. Fear of the stuff that you have going on here because stuff here is scarier than what's on the other side." And it took me no time at all to be able to open up and communicate with the other side. And yet, this has held me in my place for the longest time. It's the one thing that I've had a hard time letting go. So, in that is so from now on, from this time on, I'm going to be starting to work on myself and changing my mindset because I have been able to change my mindset in a lot of different things. And this is the next thing, this is the next step. This is the next step on. So I am stopping talking negatively about myself, um, or anyone else, because the one thing that I always seen over time, it's always easier for us to believe when someone has said something negative about you than it is when someone praises you. It took me a long time to be able to accept a compliment from anyone. But yet, if someone was to tell me that I was fat and ugly, had no problem believing that because that's what I believed about myself. But if someone came along and said that I was beautiful and amazing and they couldn't believe how, how pretty I was and everything, I would always poo poo it. They'd be like, "Oh, no, no." And I was like, All I have to say is thank you and believe it." But it's all of the negative thinking and all of the negativity sometimes that you have around you that, and sometimes it's your own perception. It's my own perception of what people think of me. And many times it's not true. Actually, probably most of the time it's not true. But it's what I do. Yeah, I know we're related. But a lot of it sometimes is the environment that we've grown up in. I mean, I know our parents or my parents, I can only talk for my parents, they've had to struggle. They've been in fight or flight for a long time. They came over from the country. They didn't have a lot of money. They had to fight here. They had to learn the language. They had to learn the customs. They weren't used to it. So it's yes, it is. It's family thing. So a lot of times, they weren't treated fairly in certain things because they didn't know the language. So they were always having that around. So you are, as a child, I was born here, and I had to watch the struggle that my parents were going through. And then on top of that, I had to be the translator for some of that as well because they didn't know to speak English. So having to be exposed to that and exposed to a lot of the negativity, it took a long time to get over that. You know, you have to take you have to be able to say sometimes to someone, they're not always out to get you. There are people here that are here to help you. But if that's all you've experienced, sometimes that's all you know. So it's difficult. But like I said, if your mind can make you sick, it also can make you better. And this guy, the guy that had cancer, stage 3 cancer, and everybody was coming at him with all types of everybody was like, you're crazy. Even the doctor was coming at him, you're crazy. If you won't do chemotherapy, it's crazy. He was the only one that finally got out of his head and said, no, 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 there's got to be a different way. And he was being shown a couple different ways, and he finally did. And to this day, he is successful. He took time. He realized, he did some research, realized what it was. He said that negativity was probably the hardest thing. Changing his mind was the hardest thing. It's easier to change the way he ate than it was to change his mind thinking. But he ended up getting some books that he started reading. He started doing some research about changing your mind and getting positive thinking, and surrounding himself with different people. And guess what? It helped. He's still alive to this day. He's got 3 children. He's been married for years, and he's doing well. So when you start deciding that you're going to do this, synchronicities are going to start coming in. You're going to start getting people that are going to come to you. Maybe I am one of the synchronicities that have helped you today to get you started on that. And if you continue on that, maybe something else will fall into your pocket. Someone else will give you something. Maybe you'll look up a book, it'll come across your feed on Facebook. Something somewhere will start you off. Let's think of the negative and everything, so it's easier to do. Self as fat. Well, yes, but when I'm going to be switching it is I'm not going to be saying that I'm fat anymore. I'm not going to be thinking of that way because I know that everybody thinks of me that way. It's what I think of myself. I have had people that are like, we don't even see that. And they're like, but that's my perception of them. So that's the last thing that they'll see. And I'm just like, okay, well, you know what? It's me. And if it's me because I don't want to get hurt, and I'm putting that up as a block, again, it's the way I feel about myself. Because let me tell you, the way I feel about myself is the way people treat me. I know when I think I'm amazing, I get people that gravitate to me that will help me and support me. And when I start to think that I am not worthy and that I'm a shit, guess what? That's when I get all the people that are like, yeah, you're right. You are shit. You're not worthy. You're not even, who do you think you are? So you have to be able to think you're amazing at any size. And it doesn't matter. And it's not about, and it shouldn't be about the weight. It should be how healthy you are and be getting healthy. Because a lot of that stress brings on the weight because I couldn't figure out what it was that was keeping me this big because I've been I've been smaller, and some of that has to do with some sexual abuse I had when I was younger. So, and I thought I had healed from that, but having this body has keeps that distance, and even though I'm married, it keeps the distance from different people. And I remember when I lost quite a bit of weight and I was thinner, the when I would get men hugging me, I would be able to feel their bodies against me, and it triggered something in me, and I started piling the weight back on. So there's a lot of layers here. It's not just what other people think of me, but it's what I think about myself. So using my fat as a protection so that no one else can get close, I'm sick of that now because I'm able to protect myself and I don't need this anymore. So literally, I just want to unzip this fat suit and get out of it. If only it was that easy. But this is part of the healing process, and it's taking a long time. But it took a long time for me to even admit that this did happen. And now that I have, it's I get a lot of people that have had that happen to them as well, and I can only speak to them about the healing that I've done, and it's the beginning healing, and this is the final piece that I need to like finally heal it because I've done quite a bit of it and it's helped a lot of people. Been able to help a lot of people, but I haven't been able to heal myself 100%. And this is the last piece that I need to do because I need to finally get healthy for myself. I'm so happy that I was you. The one thing that we all have in common is stress and fear. It's the one thing that it's across the board. It's the one thing that people don't understand. We as I get people here that have cancer all the time, and I try to tell them, you realize that it was the stress that you put on yourself that brought that on, because we ourselves, our body creates stress, creates cancer cells all the time. But if we have a healthy immune system, it will get rid of it. But when we have an unhealthy immune system that runs on this high adrenaline and we're feeding all of this junk food, that's when it gets created. That's when the cancer cells are able to multiply. So stay healthy, start changing your mindsets. I'm hoping that this is one of the things that I want to start doing in the actual women's group. I wanted to bring us together. It's not just, I want you to be aware of the psychic senses and things like that, but I also want us to dive into fear and not just talk about letting go. It's how you're letting go, what we need to do, you're letting go. Because you can say, we can have affirmations until we're blue in the face. I can look in the mirror and say, I'm powerful until I'm blue in the face. But if deep down I don't give a shit and I really don't believe it about myself, do you actually think that affirmation is going to work? No. So I've got a couple of things that I've got that I'm putting together, something that came across another synchronicity that came across me to start healing. It takes 49 days, but it's something that needs to be done in person so that I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'm hoping that that will be the first thing, the very first thing that we're really going to discuss in the women's circle that when we have. It's going to be about fear and letting that all that stuff go and how we start to actually heal ourselves. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming on tonight. Um, and I hope that I'm going to leave you guys with that because it's just been a heavy night. Um, and I will come on. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Try come on tomorrow, and see if I can do some cards or something like that for you guys and do some readings and things like that. But I just usually I don't know if I'm going to be doing them on a big live like this, just because some of the topics that I'm going to be going are going to be a bit heavy. So does anyone else have anything else that they want to ask before we sign off? Oh, thank you, Craig. I think you're amazing too. I didn't get a chance to respond to your comment, and I know you were stressed out about your job and stuff. Stop being stressed out. I want you to look at the stress, what it is that you're actually scared of, and figure that out and let that go. Because some things you can control and some things you can't. And I don't want anything happening to you. It's all about because um my thing is about sharing what I've learned, and it's taken a long time and getting my journey and figuring out what it is that's working for me. And if I can work for you to get you to think differently and your mindset to change and get you to heal and live a better, fulfilled life, that's all I really care about. I don't, people come to me all the time because I'm a psychic, I'm a medium and psychic. They want to do this, you want to do that, which is great. But if you can actually take care of yourself and tune into your own intuition, I'm okay with you putting me out of business. I prefer you to, because you are the ones that know what's best for your life. Um and that's the best thing that anyone can, that's the best gift that anybody can get there. Give me that. Okay, that's amazing, Craig. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. And thank you, Abby. Good night. My niece is on here, so she's just having a best time now. So good night, everybody. Thank you for all the hearts and stuff. And if you guys want to share the live stream, that'd be great, so that other people can see what's going on, and hopefully I can get other people to get some help as well. So and if you guys hopefully if you guys want some information on the circle, you can go to my website psychicmediumbella.com, and there's a sign up if you want to share it with your friends. I'm hoping to get some ladies coming together, and we can start healing and going out and helping other people. So good night. Bye.